What is up, flag football peeps? Welcome to the Biokats weekly flag football podcast. Here's your season finale, week 10 recap of flag football action in both 5A and 4A in the beautiful state of Colorado. I'm your host, Coach Pitts. I coach at Legend High School in Parker. Special thanks to our producer who provides girls in flag football and basketball with the social media coverage they deserve out of the goodness of his heart, Jerry Howard with Biokats, and Jerry is joining me today. Welcome, Jerry.
Hey, what's up, Darren? Great to be on the show today. Really pumped to talk about some flag football.
Well, you've been behind the scenes. We're glad to have your beautiful face in front of the camera today. Let's congratulate your Denver Broncos flag football coach of the week, Lance Petrillo, head coach for Chaparral. He guided the Wolverines to the 7-2 upset over Arvada West and a spot in the Final Four. And with that, let's go ahead and recap an exciting Final Four, starting with 5A. After we do 5A, we'll talk about the 4A championship and Final Four. And then we've got the season leaders in all the different categories. So good episode ahead. Legend and Shap in a rematch from their league game a month ago. Legend won that one 19-0 last month, but to try to beat a team with such a good defense is brutal. Luckily, Legend explodes early in this game. They get a stop and then take their opening drive the distance, capped by a Molly Larson 21-yard touchdown. Raya Matouche then steps in front of a Shap receiver for an interception. 3 plays later, Madie Smolin hits Lucy Thompson on an out and up, and the Titans had an early 2-score lead. On the Titans' next drive, Smolin throws deep to Thompson, who makes another Sports Center type of touchdown. Shap answers with a Fink to Mendelson touchdown. And just before the half, Legend answers again as Smolin fakes the receiver screen to Thompson and hits a streaking Eva Pipkin down the sidelines. Eva has been a big play maker this season. In the second half, Legend eats up most of the clock with 2 long drives. Shap gets a score by Persikina, and on the Shap's final chance to get the game to a 1-score game, Janine Norton comes up with sacks on 4 straight plays to seal it for Legend. I don't know if I've ever seen a kid make sacks on 4 straight plays. Olin finishes 313 all-purpose yards. Thompson, her 11th 100-yard game, 2 touchdowns. 11 different Titans have receptions as they spread the ball out. For Shap, 2 picks for Sydney Matthews. We'll see her name on our leaderboards later in the episode. Fink throws for 181 yards to finish another huge year for the sophomore, and Chloe Petrillo with 13 tackles. So that was your earlier game, and we stuck around for the Ralston Valley Mountain View game, obviously, to scout that one. And it was my first time seeing Ashlyn Callahan in person. Seen her a lot on film, and of course, she's been blowing up the numbers. But to see her in person, man, she is fast. This was a great, great battle. Akey leads an opening drive and finds Kaylee Besh for the score to start the game. RV drives within 15 yards of the end zone, and Kaylee Besh intercepts a fade pass. She is a stud defensive back, a stud on both sides of the ball. Kaylee Besh, I think, is only just a sophomore, too. RV was able to get a rare stop. It is hard to get stops from Mountain Vista, and they had another chance late in the first quarter. Corcus alternated passes to Ashlyn Callahan and Shelby Colosimo all night. Shelby's only a sophomore. Both receivers hauled in over 100 yards, and Callahan takes a short crosser 14 yards to get the tying score. So we had a game. You never know if these games are going to blow up and Vista's just going to blow somebody out right away, or if there's been a few teams, like RV is one of them, that was able to play with them in the second half. But as they always do, Vista answers. Akey rolls out right for their full speed 6-receiver set and their full spread 6-receiver set. And she throws a dart to Addison Devlin, a 46-yard explosion right down the seam. They finish the drive with a throwback touchdown to Marin Camaglia. Late second quarter, Braylon Looney and the Vista defense stops RV on a 4th and 9, and you just can't give Vista even a minute to work because they had 2:31 on the clock, which was like all day for that team because they work so quickly. And they're able to get this to a 2-score game at halftime, which is just demoralizing for RV because they had played so well. It was a scramble where Akey runs like 60 yards horizontally. She runs all the way to her right and then completely all the way back to the other sideline. And it ends up being a 37-yard run vertically to set up a score. And a 2-score deficit, Vista, is an uphill battle because it's just hard to get stops. The Mustangs got the ball in the third quarter. They're able to assemble a big drive to keep them alive. So RV played really good all night. Combination of a couple penalties, Corcus scramble, hitting some nice crossing patterns. They ran some little inside receiver screens. And they did get the game to 19-13, but Vista answered again. He drives the ball 64 yards, capping it with another touchdown run. And RV was never able to pull back within striking distance. But Corcus throws for 367 yards in her final game. Callahan with 135 receiving of those. And man, she is one impressive kid. But Shelby had 110 yards. And Akey ends up, this is crazy, 30 all-purpose yards in
Wow.
the final. She's nuts.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So that set up Legend versus Mountain Vista. But let's go ahead and talk about the 4A Final Four.
All right. Well, first up, let's talk about the Mountain View Pomona game, because both of these 4 games were incredibly close and it came down to the wire. But the Mountain View Pomona game was probably one of the most intense matchups of the postseason. Coach Tess from Mountain View said this was terrifying because they were up 7-6, controlling it through going into the fourth quarter. Pomona scores late, and it was just amazing because Pomona has that dual quarterback system that they run. They regain the lead, forcing Mountain View to go all in on offense, including a clutch 4th and 6 just to stay alive. Mountain View scores because they had scored the point after touchdown. It was 13-12. But Pomona got the ball back and drove down, and Mountain View's defense held up, securing the comeback victory to advance to the championship game. It was incredible. I mean, that quarterback, Knowles, what's interesting is in that game, Mountain View had 3 different quarterbacks. Knowles threw for 115 yards, and then their other 2 quarterbacks threw for 80 and 50 yards. The biggest thing was a receiver for Mountain View. She was held to 4 receptions for 40 yards. But was incredible is their freshman wide receiver, she actually had over 142 yards plus the winning touchdown to take Mountain View to the championship game. Great game overall. It was completely intense, but I'm sure Green Mountain and TCA, both of those teams had an intense game. Talk about that, Pitts.
Oh my gosh, that was a good one. I was finally able to watch it, I think like 2 nights ago, because it was going on at the same time as our Final Four. But I love the Green Mountain community, so I was excited to watch this game. Ella Cochran, what she's doing, I love this kid. I used to coach her in club basketball, and she was in my feeders when I coached at Green Mountain. And to see what she's doing on the defensive end, we'll talk about her on the state's leaders for tackles. And then I have a ton of respect for TCA because we played them last year, how well coached they are, and how experienced with Kelsey Peterson as your quarterback. I mean, that's a tough team to stop. So this was a great game. TCA went up early 7-0. The Rams then have a 10-play drive that ends up scoreless. So that was a tough hit, but they jumped the flats and got an interception, and they were able to pull within 7-6. TCA answers with a 64-yard drive capped off by Peterson to Brooklyn Blair in the flats. That is a dangerous combination this year. Mm-hmm. Next drive, Van Gilder's overthrown, and TCA picks off a pass. And this is where they kind of started to get an advantage because a few plays later, Peterson finds Reagan Harder, one of her amazing targets, for a 1-yard score. So it was 21-6 at halftime. But the Rams get a stop to open up a third, and Plumlee makes a heck of a scramble. She throws a laser to Mia Gutierrez in the back corner of the end zone to pull the Rams within what would have been a 1-score game, but it was actually 9 points due to the extra points. Next play, Madie Smolin. So this is where the Rams exploded. It was like mid or late third quarter. Madie Smolin jumps a flag route, a corner route, from behind for a pick 6, and now it's 21-18 TCA. So very next play, then Ella Cochran in the flats picks off a pass, and a couple plays later, Plumlee finds Van Gilder in the front of the end zone for Van Gilder's 30th touchdown of the season. Now it's 24-21 GM. Like, things got real in this game, and the Rams got another stop. They had a chance to kind of make this a 2-score game. They drive all the way down to the 5-yard line, but then back-to-back sacks by TCA kill that drive. And so that's what kept it a 1-score game. And Peterson, with the clock clicking down in the fourth quarter, she executes a beautiful drive to answer. She finds Ferguson to get the lead back with 4:42 to play. And on the next Rams possession, there's a NFHS skip in the feed, But all of a sudden, then TCA had the ball. So I think the Rams turned it over on downs, but TCA was able to run the clock out and win that one. Peterson, 49 total yards, 4 touchdowns, but the 3 picks and the game stayed competitive. Reagan Harder is a stud, 2 touchdowns, 83 yards receiving. Plus, she leads the team with 12 tackles. But Savannah Plumley, what a freshman year for her, 220 all-purpose yards, and you'll see her later in the episode. She's top 4 in Colorado in total yards. Marissa Van Gilder, one final 120-yard receiving game and another touchdown. And Ella Cochran pulls 13 flags as your state's leader in tackles. So great season, well-coached team for Green Mountain, and TCA was able to advance.
Wow, that game, I just know that the TCA coach, Coach Dale, told me, he's like, man, when they scored late and went ahead, and then TCA was able to put it away, he said his heart skipped a beat multiple times because he just couldn't believe that they had scored that late to take that late lead. So
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
let's about this 4A championship game, because this game, the stats say it all. I mean, TCA came in, their defense was ready. They were able to shut down Mountain View. Earlier in the season, these two teams met and went into triple overtime, with TCA pulling it out with a last touchdown on the last drive in that earlier game. So we expected this to be a really tough game. The biggest thing in this game was Mountain View throwing 4 interceptions. Knowles, a young quarterback, only a sophomore, extremely talented, made a couple of bad throws and got picked off. And Brooklyn Blair from TCA, this young lady didn't have 1, not 2. She had 3 interceptions in the game, and 2 of them went back for touchdowns. And she was just phenomenal. I mean, definitely MVP, player of the game, goes to Brooklyn Blair. BB is what they call her. TCA took control early, and it was their defense that kept them into it. Quarterback for TCA, she was incredible. But at half, it was 21-0. They had pretty much complete control. And then when Mountain View would finally get driving, there'd be an interception, there'd be turnover on downs. It just made it really tough. But all I can say is TCA's defense is what won this game. I mean, offense, you got to score points, but their defense was just swarming, and they just put different looks at Knowles and was able to pressure her. And that was the big difference in the game.
I was over at Creighton Middle School, just that field immediately to the east of the stadium. We were doing our walkthrough, and I just kept hearing on the loudspeaker, Brooklyn Blair with an interception. Mountain View is going to be back. They turned over their entire roster from last year, whereas TCA had a lot of their studs back. So it was an uphill battle for sure, especially when you're going against that incredible defense that TCA has. Yeah, they were the team to beat this year, and they just crushed it.
Well, and the biggest thing, which was really impressive, because talking with Coach Dale before the game, understanding kind of what their game plan was, and they executed it perfectly, right? They gave different looks. They rushed the quarterback. They put pressure on the quarterback. And Knowles, she's going to be a phenomenal player by the time she's a senior. Coach Tim said after the game, he's like, man, we just could not get things going. We got to go back and talk about this championship game, because this game was a whole lot closer than this score. I know Mountain Vista won 48-26. Akey had 365 yards passing. She had 114 yards rushing. She had 5 TDs rushing, 2 passing. I looked on the national stats. She's number 3 in the country on total yards. And all these other schools are playing 25, 30 games. She only had 18 games, and she's putting up these huge stats. Now, I know you guys had a plan going into that game, but it was tied 7-7. They got a late score right before half to make it 13-7 at half. But Legend, you guys came out in that third quarter and you put up 12 points, and it was a close game right there. I mean, it was pretty much 19 to 20 at that point in the third quarter, and you guys were right there. This is the second time I've seen you guys play, and all I've got to say is Lucy Thompson is the best all-around athlete in the game. best hands. I mean, after the game, I talked to Ariana Akey, and not once, not twice, 3 times Lucy went up in triple coverage and pulled the ball down, at least one for a touchdown. And Akey was like, "We were there and we couldn't even stop her." That was her quote. Hats off to both teams in this game because I know in that fourth quarter things just came a little loose, but here's the thing that was crazy. Looney, 12 receptions, 116 yards plus a touchdown. Hoffmeyer, 7 receptions, 84 yards. 4 receptions, 80 yards. And Besh actually had a big interception in the game. I think it was the first one when you guys were driving right after Mountain Vista scored in that first quarter. Legend was going to score, and you were driving down the field. And I know you and I were talking about it beforehand. You had a different play, and unfortunately, the play got broken up, but your quarterback went to throw a deep ball, and unfortunately, it got intercepted. But all I can say is the legend players, oh my goodness, studs all the way around. Madie Smolin, and I know you've got some of those stats. I may not have them on my thing, but what was Maddie's final stats in that game? Because she actually played extremely well.
Well, she and Kalen Corkus, I think, are the only 2 quarterbacks on the year to play against Mountain Vista and rack up over 300 all-purpose yards. So Maddie finished with about 320 all-purpose yards. Kalen Corkus, she had like 360 all-purpose yards against Vistas. Even though the scores look like 3, yeah, like 3-score wins for the Final Four and for the championship for Vista, both Ralston Valley and Legend played them tough. Marilyn Looney was all over the field on both ends. Vista's leader in receiving yards and in tackles. She had, I think, 13 tackles. In the Smolin to Thompson connection was special. It was so fun to watch. It wasn't even really coaching. They're just going up and making plays, and I happened to have a front row seat for it. So it was really, really exciting the whole year. Lucy Thompson plays in 2 state championship games in the same day. And of course, she was bummed to lose them both in softball and in flag football, but neither of those teams would be there without her. The softball team, what she did this year, batting about 500. She had around 50 RBIs. And
Well, she goes 4 for 4 in that championship game. And then, if I remember right, I was talking with Mary Kay, and halfway through that game, there was a problem with the catcher. They move her from short to catcher. She catches a great game. The score was pretty close tied going up, and then Broomfield had a last inning walk off that won the game for him. But she just played phenomenally. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to go into Chasa's history, but I do not believe a player has played in 2 championship games on the same day ever. And so hats off to Lucy because she was phenomenal in that game. I mean, the one of the catches she caught, I was right there on the sideline with my camera. I've got a good photo of it. Got to get that published. But it was amazing. It was just amazing to see her go up and catch. And there were 3 defenders, and the Mountain Vista defenders, when she caught that ball, they just looked at each other and just shrugged their shoulders like, what else can we do? Because they had 3 girls on her, on top, underneath, on the side, and Smolin put it just in the right spot, and she went up and got it. It was amazing.
yeah, it's fun to watch. And honestly, Ariana Akey made a couple of the same plays, whereas the coaching staff were like, man, we played that perfectly. We had a couple of the best rushers in the state. Janine Norton, centimeters away from her flag. Jenna Brown, one of the fastest players, a track star, a 300 hurdler, an amazing athlete, is right there. And Akey just gets out of her grasp and then goes and throws a dart to Looney for like a 20-yard gain. And we're like, you guys, you were in the perfect position defensively, but just absolute stud players at the very top of the game making plays to win games. She was outstanding in that game.
So, right here on this photo, we have 4 of the best players in flag football, combos, quarterback, receivers, and they're just phenomenal. And it was really fun talking with Ariana after the game, talking to Braylon after the game. They were floored. They were just, their coaching staff put together a great game plan, and I see your pain, Darren, because I was watching Akey on the sidelines, and I'm thinking like, okay, they've got her contained, and then she just is able to have that speed to bounce outside, and her vision across the field phenomenal. It was just great to watch. But hey, let's jump in and let's start talking about the final leaders in total yards. Now,
Yes. Okay, so it was fun putting these slides together here. So I did a top 20 for total yards because it's your total offensive production. I did a top 10 for a lot of the other stats, but Ariana Akey, over 6,000 yards, 320 per game, 3,500 passing, and 1,500 yards rushing. And she had a 3-yard reception. So we got to count that on there. 6,000 yards. And you said that is ranking in the top 5 nationally?
she's number 3 nationally, and this kid is phenomenal. I don't know, I mean, I'll talk with coach, but I don't know if many flag football teams know how good this young lady is, and I wouldn't be surprised if this young lady is somehow on that Olympic team in a couple years in LA. She is that good.
Yep, I'm gonna have to agree with you there. And how about number 2, Madie Smolin? She never played quarterback before 16 months ago. It was the first time she
Wow.
one of our workouts in the summer and super athletic. I thought for sure she'd be a top receiver, but then I would see her sling it. And then I would coach her and see how coachable she is. And then I would talk to her and see how smart she is because you can't just jump back there at quarterback if you have a good arm. You got to
Mhm.
understand the game. You got to be coachable. You got to absorb a ton of information. You got to know where your reads are. And for how quickly she's picked it up to become one of the state's absolute best overall quarterbacks, she knows when to use her feet. 700 yards rushing there, 4,600. She actually is the number one quarterback in Colorado as far as passing yards, which you'll see on the next slide. She had a 30-yard reception. That comes from Lucy Thompson. That was a throwback or just a fun little activity for them on senior night where Lucy's like, hey, can I throw one to Madie? And so I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. That's the thing
That's
about Lucy
awesome.
Thompson. Everyone's seeing on what Lucy can do on the softball field. Like you said, shortstop and catcher. She needed to be in 2 places at once. An NFL type receiver, what she did. But Lucy could have been a quarterback.
Yeah.
She has a gun. She's really smart, really coachable. In Powder Puff, she always wins by like 100 touchdowns because she can throw the ball all over the field. And then also
Wow.
she can shoot. She can shoot the 3 too. She's a
There you go. Well,
play
that'll come in handy basketball season for sure.
Yeah, she didn't play last year because of her recruiting for softball, but she's going to play this year. But anyway, Faith Prinzo, an outstanding season, 5,100 yards, and she completed about 75% of her passes. I think
Wow.
on the next slide, but Savannah Plumley is like a mini Ariana Akey, 4,900 total yards because she got 1,300 on the ground. She's such a good scrambler, and she is only
Wow.
a freshman.
She is a freshman?
Yeah, Plumley's a freshman. She's going to
Oh,
have
wow. She's gonna be breaking some records here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, she could have a 20,000-yard career.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to look that far ahead, but
And look at Knowles down there at 14. She threw for 3,100 passing. She's 3,000 passing, almost 100 yards rushing, and she's only a freshman or she's a sophomore. So
yeah,
she's got a long ways to go and to grow. That's awesome. Let's jump down to the receivers or the next. Here we go. Next one. Passing leaders. Yeah, you're right. Maddie edged Ariana out just by you know, 100 less than 100 yards.
yep. Akey, though, the top-rated passer. Smolin, 4,600 yards and 70 touchdowns. Akey, 89 touchdowns. Faith Prinzo, a great year. Kelsey Peterson. Kaylin Corcus, man, my first time seeing her live, she has a great arm. She's an outstanding. I know she threw a lot of interceptions early in the year, but she had a great finish to rally them into the Final Four. I got to mention Zoe Fink, only a sophomore for Shap, and very accurate, hits the corners really well.
Mhm.
Emerson Drake, again, she had a big learning curve. She was only a sophomore, threw a lot of interceptions early, but a strong finish up until they got upset by Shap and Savannah Plumley, Kira Knowles, and Caitlin Fujinami. What a list of your top passers.
Look at that. Look at Ariana Akey, almost 90 touchdowns passing. That is phenomenal. And now let's jump down to the receiving here because your girl Lucy Thompson, 1,970 yards. She averages 116 yards per game, 31 touchdowns, best hands I've seen in flag this year. I
That's
mean,
what
bar
missing
none.
a couple games due to softball conflicts too. So if she plays the full season, she's at probably 2,200 yards. So yeah, so
Yeah.
receivers there who are elite. Marissa Van Gilder, north of 1,700 yards, 35 touchdowns, and Ashlyn Callahan at 1,700. And then there's a little bit of a gap in there, but Callahan was crazy fast.
Yeah. Oh, well, and like down here at the bottom, Jessica Hopkins from Mountain View, 1,131 yards. She was their leading receiver. She was their go-to receiver. Phenomenal season. And then some of the like look at Braylon Looney, 35 yards. I mean, that is amazing. And she had 33 touchdowns.
She's a football player. She's a leading defender. She kicks field goals and extra points for the
For
boys
the
football.
boys team.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, so let's look at these final rushing leaders because Akey comes in at number 2. All right, so 89, I mean, holy smoke, man, 22 touchdowns. She has like 100 and, 89 plus 22, you're looking at 111 touchdowns. I mean, that's amazing.
And how about shout out to Jaslyn Greenwood, Eagle Ridge Academy? Obviously, their strength of schedule isn't the same as some of the other teams, but 2,000 yards is 2,000 yards. So shout out to her.
Yeah.
Plum, like I said, a mini Akey, Steffi Thomas scrambling for 1,200. Jay Cordova, I love this kid. She was just off of our top 10 passers list, but 1,200 yards with her feet, and she might be quicker than Akey. I don't know. Well, that's hard to say. They're comparable. They're in the same ball game as far as their quickness and
Put them
shoot.
on a 40 next to each other, and we'll find out who's faster.
Yeah, yeah, or like a shuttle run would be kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Exactly. No, that's great. All right, now scoring leaders, talk about this is amazing.
Yeah, Marissa Van Gilder, I mean, she's 6'2" with great hands, and so she was kind of a safety valve for Plumlee when Plumlee was in trouble because Plumlee's a great scrambler, but she could throw that ball up to Van Gilder, and there's a ton that she hauled in that where she really just would high point the ball. 35 touchdowns. Looney is unstoppable around the goal line. She uses her size well and kind of boxes people out. So 21 extra point conversions and 33 touchdowns. Callahan, Thompson, Akey. Look at these top 5 are like legends in flag football. And how about Deja Fox, Manuel, Evelyn James, North Glen, Kate Lindwell from Denver South. Man, did she have a good end of the year. She ended up playing quarterback most of the end of the year because super fast, great arm, and she's a heck of a receiver. Dylan Moyer, her teammate, and Abby Kirkpatrick was a favorite target for that outstanding Grandview team, and Brooke Sullivan, the quarterback.
Nice. And then sack leaders. Let's talk a little bit about defense.
Track star Zenobia Witt. You're going to see her all over state track the next couple of years with 71 sacks. Emery Bowman, 60, and Phoebe Hudson led our league. She got first team all conference in our league in the Continental with 55.
Nice. Oh man, that is amazing. And then interceptions.
Caroline Cummings, we were mentioning every week. Faith Lucero, Foreman from Eagle Ridge Academy, both with over 20. Leah Gentry, Denver North. Shalini Matthias, Stanley Lake. Isabella Hotman, Pooter. Pooter was really good. They were a fun team to watch. They barely got knocked off by Chatfield in the playoffs. Brooke Sullivan is awesome on both sides of the ball. She is a stud. She's a football player. Jerica Thompson, TCA, and Brooklyn Blair, TCA. We talked about their amazing.
They are both phenomenal. Thompson, a phenomenal receiver. Brooklyn Blair is only a junior. And I think next year she comes back, she's going to be the top running back and top linebacker. She's going to be like Brooklyn Braylon Looney. She's going to be a stud on both sides of the ball, and she's so fast.
You bet. You bet. Well, thanks to all of our listeners. Oh, hold on. We've got tackles leaders. I can't wrap up just yet. Ella Cockrum, I love this kid. Tackles for her. She's amazing. She's a great 3-point shooter. She's a great kid, and she was all over the field on defense for them. Jada McConnell Ash, a tackle leader with 150, and Kennedy Berry from Palmer, Chloe Petrillo, Coach Lance Petrillo's daughter, 142 tackles, and a really good list there. Braylon Looney makes the list of top tacklers in the state.
Yep, and there you go. Now, so Darren, are we gonna put together our own all-state list?
Yeah, we'll send a list out. Some of my notes here are from last week's, so apologize for that. But watch for a huge camp opportunity November 24th and 25th at Sports Dome in Centennial. Check out blitzflag.com for that. And yeah, we'll send out some lists of all state. The Chassa All State will come out on Thursday. We're recording this on Wednesday. So still lots of flag buzz as clubs are getting going to heat up. The club schedule is evolving. on more of a national level. I'm working on lists of college coaches and emails to just get them more aware of what these kids are doing, to connect them with the podcast and our top 10 list that on the slides that we provided. So we're getting that information out to college coaches to increase the recruiting in this state. So lots of fun projects right there to keep growing flag, because man, what a fun season.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Darren, talk so when does the club season start? When do they start playing games? And I know there's a lot of out-of-state travel, for big tournaments and stuff like that.
Yep. So a lot of those schedules are still evolving. There's the World Championships in July, but there's tryouts coming up already next month in November. I've got a
Yeah.
big camp coming up in the week of Thanksgiving, so watch for that. That's on blitzflag.com. And then we will probably have one over Christmas,
Mhm.
I think around December 26th, 27th, working on a camp there, and ongoing practices through the winter with a full club season to be launched in the spring and summer.
There you go. No, sounds great. Aaron, it's fun. Man, this has been a great, great podcast. We've heard from many coaches, many players. They're really pumped about it. Can't wait to do it again next year. But maybe we'll throw in an episode here or there when club season starts.
Yeah, heck yeah, and watch for upcoming basketball previews as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, fans, turn into Hoops Tracker. That is your source for Colorado basketball. And the season's going to be starting here in about a week or two, and we are pumped and excited for it. So can't wait. We cover both boys and girls. So just keep your eye out and just Hoops Tracker on social media, and you'll see all the episodes.
Thanks, Jerry, and thanks for listening.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, thanks, Coach Pitts. This is a great show.
You bet.